great wild places. Life here experiences two seasons, vastly different. The wet and the dry. And the dry season here is one of the toughest imaginable. Almost 7 months with barely any rain and rising temperatures. Animals have to cope with vanishing waterholes and blistering heat. This year is harsher than ever. Global weather changes are disrupting seasons everywhere. Creatures large and small clash in competition for food and space. Each day, it gets harder to survive. But there are winners too. The dry season provides a bounty for those ready to exploit it. "25,000 hippos call the Luangwa River home. The largest population of hippos anywhere in the world. Groups known as pods spread out along the river. It's still deep enough for them to comfortably submerge, and for now there's plenty of space to stay out of each other's way. They constantly communicate. Honking calls set off a string of conversation, called a chorus chain, that travels all the way along the river. It's a way of amicably letting other hippos know who's who and where pod boundaries lie. A dominant male, known as a beachmaster. He's over 20 years old and controls a territory along 100 meters of this river. His pod is made up of about 30 hippos, mostly females and young. And a few younger males who he tolerates, as long as they're no competition. The youngest member of the pod is a month-old calf. She weighed nearly 45 kilos at birth, and on her diet of rich milk, she's growing fast. But she's been born at a tough time of year. The valley is drying, her river sanctuary shrinking. It's mid-July. It hasn't rained for 2 months. The dry season has set in, but it's yet to take its iron grip. Over 700 kilometers long and 100 kilometers wide, the Luangwa Valley in Zambia is the tail end of Africa's Great Rift Valley. What makes it so special is its patchwork of habitats. Fertile grasslands are flanked by shady woodlands and dotted with lush lagoons. It's an intricate network of neighborhoods, providing homes for an incredible variety of life. At the heart of it all is the Luangwa River. one of the largest undammed rivers in all of Africa. It's a lifeline in the valley. At this time of year, the river is already half its wet season size. In a drying landscape, it draws animals from miles around. Hundreds of species depend on it for their survival. Every dry season here is harsh. It can be 7 months, from May to November, with practically no rain and soaring temperatures. But this year, the drought is even more extreme than usual. It's an El Niño year. This global weather phenomenon is triggered by changes in warm water currents in the Pacific Ocean. Its far-reaching effects span the planet, and in Africa, they can intensify dry conditions. The Luangwa River meanders dramatically. As it snakes through the valley, soft sand is eroded from the outer edge of a bank and deposited on the inside. Over time, these big bends get cut off, leaving oxbow lakes, an echo of the river's old course. These lagoons are oases of life, and one of the reasons the Luangwa Valley has such an abundance of wildlife. Some lagoons have already dried up, but this one is big, nearly 1 kilometer long. And there's still plenty of water here. Nile cabbage grows all over Africa's wetlands. It's one of the most prolific water plants in the world. It floats on the surface, its roots dangling in the depths below. It's a haven for aquatic insects. Larvae live among the submerged roots, and adult flea beetles emerge in their thousands to feed on the succulent leaves. They, in turn, feed hundreds of birds. Jacanas have, proportionally, the longest toes of any bird in the world. Nearly 20 centimeters tip to tip, front to back. 2/3 of its body length. They spread the bird's weight as it tiptoes across the carpet of vegetation without sinking. Jacanas cannot delve deep with their short beaks, but they've learnt to take advantage of another lagoon resident. A hippo is a mobile feeding station. Vegetation lifted out of the water gives jacanas access to invertebrates hidden in the root system they otherwise couldn't reach. And the hippo doesn't seem to mind having hitchhikers. This hippo is an old bull. He's living the quiet life away from the noise and commotion of the main pods in the river. But his lagoon won't last forever. It's the end of July, and midday temperatures are beginning to creep above 25 degrees Celsius. More water evaporates every day. Now it's still deep enough to submerge in, but the hippo will eventually be forced to move. Many of the valley's plains are old, silted-up lagoons, formed when the course of the river has changed. They're a testament to the dynamic landscape. The soil here is fertile, washed down from volcanic hills in the north, and nutritious grass feeds hundreds of mouths. Puku and impala have small mouths and flexible lips that are perfectly suited to nibbling short grass. But they don't have the plains to themselves. Grass makes up half a baboon's diet, but they feed very differently from antelope. They use dexterous fingers to pick stems and pull up rhizomes. Baboons and antelopes compete for resources, but the extra eyes and ears make sharing worthwhile. So many grazers attract hungry predators. But baboons have excellent eyesight and the ability to get a good vantage point up a tree. And antelope have acute hearing and a strong sense of smell. Between them, they've got the bases covered. All benefit from each other's alarm calls. A lion on patrol has no hope of an ambush once the bush telegraph begins. Even Africa's giants make use of the fertile plains. The tip of an elephant's trunk is as sensitive as a human finger. Picking grass a blade at a time is a slow way of collecting the 130 kilos of food they'll need to eat in a day. But in the dry season, every little helps. This calf is only 2 years old, but already he's walked hundreds of kilometers. An elephant herd must keep moving. If they stay in one place for too long, they'll annihilate their food supply. The valley's woodlands are made up of over 300 species of trees, all with their own strategies to survive the crippling dry season. Groves of ebony trees are never far from the river. Their long roots tapping into the groundwater. The small surface area of an acacia tree's tiny leaflets helps minimize moisture loss so they can grow further from water. But the most striking adaptation is found in a Mopani forest. Every year it transforms into an autumnal wonderland. It's the beginning of August, still early in the dry season. But this woodland is several kilometers from the river. Water is scarce. Each Mopani tree cuts off the supply of moisture and nutrients to its leaves. Without the green pigment chlorophyll, leaves turn golden and drop, just like a northern hemisphere fall. The carpet of fallen leaves creates a whole new habitat on the forest floor. Patterns in the sand give their creator the sweet common name of doodlebug. But there's nothing cute about them. Less than half the size of your little fingernail, these insects are the larval form of a lacewing, and they are voracious predators. Huge pincer-like jaws are vicious weapons, perfect for grabbing prey. Their hunting prowess has given rise to their other common name, ant lions. Each of these miniature killers digs a tiny pit, about 5 centimeters deep. It's carefully constructed, so the sides are at a critical angle. They'll collapse at the slightest disturbance. All he needs to do now is wait. Ants are found in every habitat in the world except the poles. And here in the tropics can make up by weight as much as 25% of all animal life. There are plenty of them, and they're ideal prey. This ant's making a heroic bid for freedom. But it's not easy to escape an ant lion's cunning. Flicking sand destabilizes the pit wall. Injecting venom paralyzes its prey, and enzymes digest the ant from the inside out. The ant lion sucks its meal dry, as though drinking juice through a straw. And when it's done, it throws the empty carton away. But one man's trash is another man's treasure. White-browed sparrow weavers hoover up anything they can find in the leaf litter. From insects to seeds. They forage together in flocks, but at this time of year, food is harder to find, and they're getting increasingly intolerant of their neighbors. Squabbles are short-lived. These gregarious birds are a model of community living. In fact, they have one of the most unusual social systems in the bird world. When it's time to breed in a few months, an alpha pair will be the only birds in the group to lay eggs. The rest of the flock will help to rear the brood. It's a bit like a tiny wolf pack. Each sparrow weaver has its own nest for roosting in, but the whole gang helps build them all. Nests may look messy, but they're in a constant state of repair. A home improvement project that is never quite finished. All the nests are on the same side of a tree. A carefully selected position, so they get the right amount of morning sun and are sufficiently sheltered from the wind. A double entrance is a security feature. In an emergency, you can always nip out the back door. It's now the end of August. 4 months of unrelenting dry. In the river, it's getting harder for the hippo pod to find water deep enough to submerge. Their exposed backs are too much for oxpeckers to resist. These little birds eat anything they can glean from a host mammal. Ticks, earwax, dead skin. Having parasites removed does the hippos a favor, but oxpeckers don't stop there. They intentionally keep wounds open, feeding on living flesh. When the pecking gets too much, you have to master the art of the tail flick. These pesky birds don't seem to mind taking a shower. If all else fails, a dunking dislodges even the most stubborn hangers-on. No matter. There's always another hippo to hop onto. At this time of year, the dry season has really taken hold. The hippo's irritation is worsened by lowering water levels. Less water means less room. Neighboring pods get squashed closer together. Beach masters start to get twitchy about other males cozying up to their harems. Tensions are rising. And when a rival male gets in his way, the dominant male loses his cool. Mum must keep her baby close. Three tons of angry hippo could easily trample a tiny calf. It's only a small disagreement. This time. But it's a sure sign of fireworks to come. The river will only get lower, and the hippos will be squeezed even more tightly together. But for some, the shrinking river brings opportunity. Exposed banks are the perfect nesting site for white-fronted bee-eaters. Each colony is divided into several clans, extended families that maintain close relationships. Pairs mate for life and share the task of incubating their eggs. A single bee-eater can eat 250 insects in a day. And each brings food to their partner on nest duty. But in this society, cooperation goes one step further. Not all birds breed every year, and those who don't have a brood to raise act as helpers for those who do. But there's always one who doesn't play by the rules. Stealing someone else's catch is an easy way to score a quick meal, but it's a sure way to ruffle feathers. Encroaching on a rival clan's territory can result in bouts of beak wrestling that last for several minutes. But a bonus of clan living is that there's always someone around to break up a fight. It's the beginning of September. Rain is a distant memory. And midday temperatures have started to rise above 30 degrees Celsius. The lagoons are shrinking fast. The old bull stubbornly stays put, but time is running out. He'll hang on as long as he can, but he'll be forced to move when the water vanishes completely. Warthogs take advantage of the fresh mud. Wallowing helps dislodge parasites, but it is also one of the most efficient ways to keep cool in rising temperatures. Warthogs are distant relatives of the hippo, and like their cousins, have no sweat glands. Covering their bare skin in mud can lower their body temperature by as much as 2 degrees. This dwindling lagoon is one of only a few in the valley still to hold water. It's a magnet for wildlife. Impala must drink daily in the dry season when they get little moisture from their food. They come to the lagoon at the hottest and safest part of the day, when most predators are lying up in the shade. It's still a nerve-wracking time. For the hefty buffalo, which can weigh up to a ton, the trek across the mud to water can be treacherous. The mud is deep and sticky enough to trap them. But the desperate desire to quench their thirst drives them on. A shoal of catfish is already trapped. The hippo has unwittingly cut off their escape. The water is too shallow to cover them completely. They struggle to keep their gills submerged. Marabou storks have spotted the movement. Known as undertaker birds, these bizarre-looking gangly storks are usually scavengers. But they are always ready to exploit any opportunity for a meal. Their 30-centimeter beaks aren't built to deal with prey like this, however. Their clumsy eating habits have attracted another opportunist. A juvenile fish eagle. This is a chance for him to practice a tactic that will stand him in good stead for the future. Stealing food. Marabou storks are 1.5 meters tall and have the largest wingspan of any land bird in the world, well over 3 meters. They are formidable opponents. But the fish eagles are armed with razor-sharp talons, and they're getting good at using them. There's no honor among thieves. The eagle's siblings each try to steal the other's stolen meals. Fish eagles are pirates through and through. Even a parent bird isn't above pinching food from its own offspring. It's a tough world out there. And the sooner that lesson is learnt, the better. Out on the plains, the dry season is tightening its grip. It's mid-September, and the ground is baked hard. The elephant family is on its way to the river. Baby is still largely reliant on his mother's milk. He'll suckle for at least another 2 years. He needs to drink 12 liters a day, and as it gets drier, his mum will be under huge pressure to produce enough milk. They've drunk at this stretch of the river many times before. But this time, they're not alone. On the other side of the river is a second herd. They've been foraging far away on the escarpment, but there's nothing left there to drink. In the wet season, the mighty Luangwa runs wide and deep, a barrier separating the east bank from the west. They haven't seen each other for months. But as the old adage says, elephants never forget. Touching trunks is like a handshake. And resting your trunk on another is an elephant's way of hugging. Elephant friendships can last a lifetime. At the white-fronted bee-eater colony, Newcomers are not so welcome. Each year, during the dry season, carmine bee-eaters travel hundreds of kilometers from South Africa, the Congo and Tanzania to gather in the Luangwa Valley to breed. These are the vanguard, a few hundred birds. But over the next month, thousands will arrive. The little white fronts are outnumbered and outweighed, but they're not taking this invasion lying down. It's imperative that they defend their burrows from these red devils. At last, an uneasy truce is reached. The carmines can stay, but they must dig their own nest holes. The sand is easy to excavate if you've got the right tools. Their curved beaks work like pickaxes, and fused toes and strong claws make their feet perfect for digging. Stiff tail feathers brace against the cliff wall as they dig, helping them keep their balance. They'll tunnel 2 meters or more into the sand to create a cool, safe place to lay eggs. But the carmines will have their work cut out for them gathering food at the hottest, harshest time of year. It's the end of September. There's not been a drop of rain for over 5 months, and temperatures peak at 37 degrees Celsius each day. This year, El Niño conditions in the Pacific have caused a drought that is even more fierce than usual. Waterholes have vanished almost a month earlier than last year. At the last of the lagoons, thick mud is all that remains. Butterflies gather to take in minerals and suck the last of the moisture from the ground. But behind them, other winged creatures arrive. Vultures. Their eyesight is so good, they can spot a carcass from several kilometers away. The sticky mud has claimed a buffalo. On the wing, vultures look out for signs that others have found a meal. 1 or 2 landing to feed sets off a chain reaction, and dozens more arrive in minutes. A large gaggle of vultures can strip a carcass bare within an hour. Swallowing nearly a kilo of meat each, a fifth of their weight, in a sitting. Their stomach acid is so corrosive it kills most bacteria, making them immune to toxins in decaying flesh. The hippo's lush lagoon home is gone. There's nothing left but a muddy death trap. If he stays, he could suffer the same fate as the buffalo. He has no choice but to take his chances at the river, where confrontation with aggressive, dominant males is inevitable. He'll have to fight or die. The dry season is far from over. It could be 2 months or more before the valley sees rain again. The young elephant will struggle to keep up with the herd as it needs to travel further and further to find enough food. But new opportunities will present themselves to some. As animals congregate around the last of the resources, it's good times for predators. There are always winners and losers in the Luangwa Valley.